Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Shell Eco Marathon Asia 2018 live Q&A session. I'm happy to see that there are a few of you that have joined. Just a couple more minutes to join the session, and then we can start. So today on this live Q&A session, we have Colin Chin, who's the Technical Director for Shell Eco Marathon Asia. We have Zhi-Ying, who is your student communications manager, who has the difficult task of answering your questions and making sure you're happy all year round. We are also welcoming Ghazali on this call, who is from Agility Fairs and Events. Agility are our global freighting partner. So if you have any questions about transporting your vehicle to Singapore, then Ghazali is expert on that. Okay, so we've got a few people joining. For people who've just joined, welcome to this Shell Eco Marathon Asia 2018 live Q&A. Much for joining. Today we'll be mostly concentrating on logistics, but we are ready to answer any of your questions. So we'll start with a little presentation from Zhi-Ying. You guys can go ahead and ask your questions. So in order to post your questions, please section on the right-hand side of the screen, and then we'll be going through those questions afterwards. Zhi-Ying, are you ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so go ahead and share your screen.
All right.
Start.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to our second live Q&A. I'll just be speaking a bit about logistics, as Sarah mentioned. So let's start. So today on the agenda, I'll be going through some event information about location and the schedule, what's new this year. Phase 3, I will just be pointing out parts that you might need to pay attention to. And then we'll be speaking about freight. This will be kind of an overview of the shipping guide. So I'm just going to take you over the most important points. And then other updates about eShop, visas, and stipends. And then Q&A. So event information. So as you guys know, we've announced that we will be returning to the Changi Exhibition Center, and event dates are from March 8 to 11. So for those of you who are new teams and have never seen the venue before, this is how it looks like. And we had the track here last year. And this year we are working on getting the track finalized so that you can have the map. So this is how the venue looks. And this is a satellite image of the locale. So I just want to show you where some things are in relation to where Changi Exhibition Center is so that you can orientate yourself. And I know a lot of you have been looking up accommodation options, so this might help. So Changi Exhibition Center is there. That's the Shell Eco Marathon venue. And Changi Airport, where many of you will be first arriving into Singapore, is as indicated there. So last year we had official accommodation at D Resort, which is as indicated, and then Pasir Ris MRT station, which is a metro station, is located there. So this year teams are responsible for arranging for your own accommodation at a hotel or hostel of your choosing. This was announced in the last newsletter. Teams should, however, keep in mind that Changi Exhibition Center is not serviced by any public buses or trains, so getting to it might be a bit of a hassle. We are providing shuttles this year as well, and the pickup location will be somewhere within Pasir Ris, within the red box and within a walkable distance from Pasir Ris MRT and D Resort. So having said this, then D Resort still remains a prudent choice, a good choice of accommodation for you to stay at. And if you're choosing accommodation at a different location, um, do take proximity to the East-West MRT line into consideration. So here's the MRT map, and it's linked to a bigger vision, so you can click on it when I shared the PDF of this. So the East-West line is the green line, and Pasir Ris MRT is right here. So wherever you stay, wherever you're looking for accommodation, do take note that pickup is going to be likely at this area. If you want to take advantage of it, then do take note of first and last train timings and how long it will take to travel to the vicinity of the pickup point. Okay, so competition schedule. So this is a provisional schedule. It can be found in chapter 2. And a few things are the same and a few things are different this year. So participant check-in, like last year, will open on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. And it will close at 6 on Wednesday as well. Technical inspection is open from 1 to 7. Which is a bit later than last year. And the reason why we're doing so is because we are having a later mandatory technical and safety briefing from 8 to 8:30. So the whole schedule will be pushed back by about an hour. And on Thursday, participant check-in opens again as well from 8 to 12. So it will close at noon. And then on Thursday as well, we will have our first practice runs by category and the group photo. And then on Friday, we will have more practice runs, the first competition day, and the opening ceremony. And this is the last day that technical inspection will remain open. So it closes at 7. So make sure you get everything, get all your stickers by Friday. And then on Saturday, it's competition day 2. It's the award ceremony for urban concept teams. And then participant checkout is open for urban concept teams only. And we are also having a student party this year based on feedback that you gave last year, that you would like to have a social event to get to know participants from other countries. And yeah, so we're having a student party on Saturday evening. And so we're also having the Drivers' World Championship like last year on Sunday. And then similarly, the award ceremony for the prototypes, the off-track awards, and the DWC, and then participant checkout on Sunday when all of you leave for all teams. That's a mistake. It should be for all teams. So participant check-in is open only on, just some keynotes. Participant check-in is open only on Wednesday until midday Thursday, so plan accordingly. And technical inspections only open from Wednesday to Friday. And practice runs are only available on Thursday and Friday. So this means that you're encouraged to come to the event fully prepared for technical inspection on Wednesday, March 7th, to maximize your time at the event and make full use of the practice runs and the competition time. Phase 3. Let's look at the timeline. We opened Phase 3 on October 24th. And Phase 3 logistics will close on February 6th. And that's also our dropout deadline, which is really important because if you don't let us know by the dropout deadline that you're unable to come, you'll be suspended from all Shell Eco Marathon events for the next competition year. So please, if you know that you will have difficulties coming, do inform us early so that we can plan accordingly and you won't have to be penalized as well. So let us know by February 6th. And then on February 15th, that's when all the off-track award submissions have to be in by. And March 8th is the official start of the event. So Phase 3 consists of two parts as explained here as well. There's one part that's logistics, and then there's the other one that's the off-track awards. So for logistics, you have to upload passport copies, terms and conditions of participation, the guarantee letter and the team invoice, and the institutional endorsement. And you also have to provide some information about your shipping. So if you are a local team or a team from Malaysia that's driving over using road freight, then please choose no under the shipping. And then if you're either using sea freight or air freight, please choose yes. And then you will also have to fill in arrival and departure information relating to when you expect you will check in at the event and when do you expect you will leave. Information for the off-track awards can be found in section 6B of the chapter 1 rules. So you can go look it up. They're very attractive prizes to be won. So, yep. So phase 3 logistics. I'm just going to go through like really quickly some key areas where people get confused. So terms and conditions of participation. So it's just an agreement to abide by competition rules and to release waiver for photography and videography. But what people get confused about is how to fill out this form and what to submit per copy. So page 2 is a summary sheet of your whole team. So you just need one copy of page 2. And then each participant has to read everything and then understand it and sign below saying that they've read and understood it. And so for page 6, which this page is, you need to have one copy per participant. And then if you have participants under 18, then they also have to get signatures from their parents or guardian. Okay. And then the institutional endorsement is basically a guarantee by a school that everybody in the team is current faculty or students at the institution at the time of the event. And I would also like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that you can only have one faculty advisor per team officially on the team. So if you have other accompanying faculty advisors because it's a rule in your school, then that faculty advisor cannot be part of the team officially, but I'm sure they can accompany you and be come to the event on public opening days as such. And then the guarantee letter and the team invoice. So this is the document that we need you to fill so that we have details for where to pay out your travel allowances to. And it also is an undertaking that if you lose any of or damage any of the items that the technical team loans out, for example, then we would take damages from the travel allowance. So you should make sure that the bank details are accurate or the transfer will likely fail. And because these things kind of do take some time, so this would really just delay the whole process. So if you just make sure the first time around that your details are correct, that would help. Okay, so it's not opening. Okay, never mind. But this year I've put footnotes at the bottom for explaining what you need to, how you should find the information that is asked for. So for like, where do you find SWIFT codes and bit codes, or what are IBAN numbers and what do they do? So make sure you follow the instructions carefully, and I hope all of the travel allowances go out really smoothly next year. And write legibly, because sometimes it's a handwriting thing. If possible, use the computer to type. So, okay, this is the majority portion of the presentation, freight. So, freight is a really important part of your competition journey. So, the agility shipping guide has been reworked. Hopefully, is very clear now what you have to do to get your your vehicle to Singapore and um, to the event. So, this is what you can find on the guide as well. The 7 steps to freighting. Number 1 is choose your offshore freight forwarder. Then you choose your mode of freight, pack your vehicle safely, prepare and submit documentation. Then the vehicle arrives in Singapore. There's the event, and then you have to export it. So this is the movement of your vehicle from your university to Singapore and then back again. So step 1 is choosing your offshore freight forwarder. And you might ask, what is an offshore freight forwarder? So an offshore freight forwarder would transport your vehicle from your university or wherever your pickup point is um, to the port of Singapore. For this particular leg, we prefer that you use Agility, but you are free to use other freight forwarders. Um, and then an onshore freight forwarder is the person that clears your cargo through the port of Singapore through customs and then brings it to the paddocks. So it's compulsory to use Agility as your onshore freight forwarder for all teams except for teams in Malaysia and Singapore. So this is the difference between the offshore and the onshore freight forwarder. And your first step is to choose your offshore freight forwarder, if not Agility. So if you are using a different offshore freight forwarder, there are some things that you should take note of. You need to make sure that they can provide you with an advanced bill of lading. A bill of lading is a document that a shipping company provides you to confirm receipt of goods with the information of where it's consigned to. That means where it's supposed to be sent to and to who and all that stuff. So an advance bill of lading is given in advance of receipt. So you have to make sure not all freight forwarders give advance bill of ladings. So just make sure that they can provide this for you. And then secondly, make sure that their quote is comprehensive. So on page 3 of the Agility Shipping Guide, which is also linked here, you will see the listed services on Agility's side. And so you should make sure that the quote of your offshore freight forwarder, if you're going with a different one, we would encourage you to go with Agility, but if you're going with a different one, make sure that their quote accounts for all the listed services. And make sure that they can provide 14 days of container-free time, which is the number of days that you can keep the container without costs at Singapore's port. And then finally, make sure that they can export the vehicle within 21 days of the competition ending. So the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of the time, sometimes freight forwarders don't give you complete quotes, and it might look really attractive initially, but because they're not listing certain services and costs, then it ends up being very inflated in the end. So it's really good to do your homework and ask the right questions and make sure that everything is included. Okay. So secondly, you have to choose your mode of freight. So it's basically sea freight or air freight. And they have different deadlines for arrival. So if you are coming via sea freight, or rather your vehicle's coming via sea freight, it should arrive in Singapore between 22nd to 24th February. And then if you're coming by air freight, between 26th and 28th of February. Some considerations that you should take note of. It might be quite obvious to you already, but maybe not to the new teams. Speed versus cost. Air freight is faster but significantly more costly. So really, if you want to keep costs low, it's really preferable that you go by sea. And also regulations for air freight are much stricter as compared to for sea freight for dangerous goods. So I will go through what dangerous goods are shortly. So packing your vehicle safely. Um, one of the most important things to keep your vehicles protected is a sturdy crate. So and the crate should be built in a reusable bolt and nut or in plywood or timber, so that it can be recreated at the end of the event and exported back to your country. So please don't use nails as they damage the crates. And then they should be clearly labeled. So for easy identification, cases must be marked as per this example, which can also be found in the guide. Um, One, it needs to be marked on two opposite sides, and one of the sides should be the side that will be facing the person who opens it. Okay, so as I mentioned just now, dangerous goods are a very important consideration when you're thinking about how to manage your freight. So, as referred to in the Chapter 1 rules, I think in Article 6, and in the Chapter 2 rules in Article 211, teams are required to seek early guidance regarding the shipment of any dangerous goods from their commercial freight company or from our global freighting partner, Agility Fairs and Events. So this is their contact address for the Asia event. And you should also read the dangerous goods shipping guide very carefully. So just a quick primer on what dangerous goods are. Dangerous goods are things like batteries, lubricants, engine oils, fuel, flammable liquids, aerosols, pressurized containers, um, and yep, that's pretty much it. So all these things are not, you're not allowed to ship these things, or you can only ship them under certain conditions. Um, so just some key points in the dangerous goods shipping guide, which outlines some of these conditions that you can ship them under. Um, but it would be best for you to really consult an expert. So like um, either Agility or um, your own commercial, whatever offshore freight forwarder you engage. So one of the key points in dangerous goods in the guide is that you should send batteries by sea freight separately from your main crate. So if you separate your batteries out from your car and you send it via sea instead, then it saves the whole crate from being labeled dangerous goods. And if the whole crate is labeled dangerous goods, then there's a risk premium attached to that freight. So to avoid this, you can separate it out and send it separately. This is especially if you're sending your car mainly through air freight. Then because it's so strict, right? The regulations to do with batteries for air freight, it might make sense for you to separate out the battery. So the battery should also be prepared correctly for shipping, even if you're separating it out from your main crate. So it should be disconnected, isolated, secured in non-conductive housing, and there should be accompanying MSDS documents, or they might be confiscated or removed by customs. And this actually happened last year, so um, it's a very real risk. Uh, you don't really want to be a battery electric team without a battery at the event. So make sure that all these documentations and all these preparations are done correctly. And then you have to drain all fuels, oils, and lubricants from the vehicle, and remove all aerosols, combustibles, explosive, and corrosive items from the crate. So this is another scary thing that can happen. So um, this is a Shalico Marathon vehicle that burnt down in the crate on the way to an event. And I'm sure you don't want the car that you've worked so hard on to be burnt to cinders. So make sure you read the guide carefully, but more than that, also make sure you consult specialists in dangerous goods and make sure that everything in the crate is packed correctly. So you might think, if I remove all these items, then how will I operate the vehicle in the event? You need oils, lubricants, and well, we provide oils, but lubricants and WD-40, like how are you going to get these things, you know? We have a supply store. Those of you who came last year would know we have a supply store at the event run by MEC Concepts. They're going to come again. And they will stock common items like WD-40, lubricants, and sealants. So you can purchase them from them. And then should there be any other automotive items that you might need and can't ship, then you can please contact them at Singapore Sales at meeccon.com. Um, yeah. So Article 211 in Chapter 2 talks about the type of documentation that you will have to submit to Agility before before the crate before you hand over the crate to your offshore freight forwarder. Um, so there are two types of documentation that you can have. One is the dangerous goods certificate from an official dangerous goods packer, which is the gold standard. And then there's also a dangerous goods packing declaration, which can be completed by a person of authority at your institution to confirm that they have thoroughly checked the packing of the crates and it's safe to be transported via commercial transportation, and that they will undertake any financial and legal liabilities that may arise from incidents caused by failures to pack the dangerous goods safely. So acceptable documentation differs based on what mode of freight you have chosen. So for air freight, only a dangerous goods certificate is allowed if you have dangerous goods in your crate. So if you have batteries in your air freight air shipment, um, you need to get an official dangerous goods packer to sign off that it has been packed correctly. If you have no dangerous goods in the crate, we will accept the dangerous goods packing declaration provisionally, and then we will run spot checks at the event while you open the crate to make sure that everything was declared correctly. Teams who went by air freight last year and submit the packing declaration would be familiar with the process. So we will be doing this again this year. And for false declarations, penalties up to disqualification are possible. So make sure that you are very honest on the forms. For sea freight, we will accept either a dangerous goods certificate or the dangerous goods packing declaration. And road freight, which I only expect Singapore and Malaysia teams to maybe use, we will still need a dangerous goods packing declaration from you. So prepare and submit documentation. This is the documentation you need to submit to Agility. And it's a table breaking down what the different types of documentation are for all the different forms of freight, and who provides that that piece of documentation. So there are two kind of key things that you should focus on. One is the commercial invoice and packing list. So last year teams had issues filling this up. So hang on, it's opening. So this year, Agility and I have put instructions for each part, so you can know how exactly to calculate things and what to fill it up with. So hopefully this helps you. So this can be found in the shipping guide as well. So it's an attachment within the shipping guide that you click on and you get this. And then this is the exemplar and the instructions, and then you just fill up the template here um, based on your actual vehicle's dimensions. Okay. And then the dangerous goods packing declaration that I spoke about just now. There's also a newer version, and the things where you had problems with last year, now there are footnotes for you to explain what you should fill them up with. So hopefully that will help. And then you should look through this checklist carefully and make sure that all of this is done. And then someone in your institution needs to sign off for you. Okay, so the rest of the items are the airway bill and the bill of lading, depending on ARC freight, and that's from your offshore freight forwarder. The fumigation certificate, also from your offshore freight forwarder. And then MSDS certificate for DG items, if applicable, needs to come from you. And insurance policy, if applicable as well, if you've insured your car, it needs to come from you. So all this needs to be submitted to Agility. If you are going by sea freight, by 15 February, if you're going by air freight, to 19th by 19th February. So they should be emailed in PDF format to this address, clearly identifying your team by country, team name, and team ID in the body of the email. So if you don't submit by this deadline, the problem is that Agility will not be able to arrange for importation under the temporary importation facility, which allows you to avoid paying for a goods and service tax on the cost of your vehicle. So if you miss the deadline, then you will have to pay a 7% goods and service tax. And then above that, automotive vehicles also have a very high excise duty on top of the 7% as their control items. So you can read here for more details, but the moral of the story is just submit your documents on time so that Agility can process it, and everything should be fine. And then I'll just speak a bit about exportation. So it's the same. You need to use Agility for all the transport within Singapore. So from the paddocks to the port of Singapore. And then your offshore freight forwarder, we prefer that you use Agility, but you're free to use other freight forwarders. Again, except for teams in Malaysia and Singapore. So how will the exportation procedure work? You will also need to give DG documentation to Agility. Then you must inform Agility where the crate is to be exported to and the mode of transport. And then this is important. This is also at the start when you ask your offshore freight forwarder, right? Like how fast can they re-export the vehicle after the event? Because it needs to be pulled out from the Agility warehouse no later than 20th March. And after this date, the crate will start to accumulate storage costs that will be billed to you. So to avoid this, just ask your freight forwarder to make sure that they can take the crate out of their warehouse by the 20th March. And then the vehicles must also be, this is also a re-exportation guideline, or there will need to be an extension of the temporary import bond that was referred to just now. And then you will have to be charged as well. So just to avoid that, just make sure that everything leaves Singapore 21 days after the event. And then final notes on freight. So freight is an essential component of your competition journey. As you can tell, I spent quite a lot of time talking about freight because it's one of the most problematic parts for some participants. And if you can prepare well for this part, then I think that it would save you a lot of grief. So don't leave it till the last minute. Planning early allows you to use sea freight, which saves costs. Um, Participants are strongly encouraged to use agility because it's just much easier. They will coordinate everything for you. And if more teams from your country go with agility, then they're able to consolidate your crates for more attractive costs, more attractive prizes. And yeah, so that you should contact them early and try and bundle up with as many participants from a country as possible. So, but if you do choose to go with a different freight forwarder, please carefully check their terms of shipment. And then you should understand and comply with instructions in the Dangerous Goods Packing Guide. Um, Remember that submitting your document late will mean that Agility cannot process your shipment under the temporary import facility. Um, okay, finally, others. Travel. So one thing to note is that your passport needs to have 6 months of validity for entry into Singapore. So please check all of your expiry dates and make sure that this requirement is met. I know that in some countries it takes quite a significant amount of time to get passports renewed. So just go look at your passports tonight and see when they expire. Um, and then participants from some countries will also require visas for entry. So you can look at this link to find out if you will need to apply for a visa. And then one thing I want to point out from experience last year is that if you do need to apply for a visa, please contact the Singapore Embassy or Consulate in the country to ask if they accept the applications directly or they source it out to visa agents. And then if they source it out to visa agents, only go to the authorized visa agents as advised by them. So try not to go to you know, unauthorized visa agents as that causes issues quite obviously with the applications. So as part of your application, you will need to submit something called a V39A form. So um, it needs to be completed by me, and you can request this via email to the normal address. Before you request for this, make sure you finalize your team member list, upload all passport scans, and submit phase 3. So I put it in red just so it's more obvious. And then you should make sure that you have sufficient travel insurance covering your medical and personal liabilities during your stay in Singapore. eShop. The eShop is open and it can be accessed at this link. And new team managers should have received their login instructions on November 27th. You can purchase the fuel tanks and hydrogen flow meters from the eShop. And you have 2 options for the collection of the order. One, which is to collect at the event itself for no freight charges. And then the other one is to deliver to your country by their freight provider TNT. So this option will incur freight charges. And additionally, there might be import duties and taxes that are not accounted for in the code that you see on the eShop website. So really the safest option is to just collect it at Changi Exhibition Center for free. You can test your vehicle using a different fuel tank. It's not necessary to make sure that you have it at your country and then have to ship it all the way to Singapore again for the event. So please note that I've received some questions about this in the inbox. Pro forma invoices are not orders. Oh, sorry. Pro forma invoices are not orders. So there's an option to generate a pro forma invoice. Just so you can like get approval from a university or from sponsors. But that does not constitute your order. So you actually have to pay for it to be formally treated as an order and processed. So that's why some of your orders are not processed. So if you have questions regarding the eShop, you can contact this address here, eshopsem@jqevents.com. So we have two new stipends, exciting new stipends in Article 235 and 236. So one is the travel safety stipend, which is worth 500 USD, and it will be given to the team with the best travel safety plan. So a travel safety plan describes how you will ensure that your travel to and from the event is as safe as possible. So this should be submitted to, first you should register for the stipend if you're interested, to the normal email address. And then the submission should also be submitted to ecomarathon@shell.com by the same date as the rest of the off-track awards, so by February 15th. And then the Lindy hydrogen stipend is a stipend worth 1,200 USD for given to the new hydrogen team with the best result on track. So who is eligible? A team is considered new if they have not participated in the hydrogen category from 2015 to 2017. And then before we segue into the question and answer session, Colin has some updates to share with you with regards to technical inspection.
Hi everyone, hope you can hear me. I just have a few things to add about the technical inspection. We will be changing the technical inspection process for 2018. One of the key things that we want to do is to have all teams as prepared as possible for technical inspection. So we will require you to, we will give you a technical inspection checklist before you go to the event, and you will need to check every item on that list and make sure that you comply. And when you have complied with that, we will allow you to get access to the technical inspection, which is based on a queue system. So once you have got your inspection checklist completed, then you can actually apply to enter the technical inspection, and it will call you when there is a space available. So that's a very big change. And the second is that we will also try to give you the technical inspection checklist by the end of December, so that you can actually have a look at all the things that you need to answer and provide before you actually ship your vehicles to the event. What we are planning to do, and we will announce that very soon, and provide the checklist so that you can actually self-inspect your car and make sure that you're as prepared as possible prior to the event. Okay, and prior to the event, we'll give you the final version of the checklist so that you can also prepare yourself for technical inspection. We will give you more details about this in another question and answer session, which we'll schedule later on. That's all from me. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in.
Thank you, Colin, and thank you, Zhi-Ying, for the presentation. We'll move on to the Q&A session now. So we have one question waiting so far from Team Moran from Indonesia. Thank you for posting a question. Elisiana asks, can you explain more about the bus shuttle services? What will the organizer be providing? Zhi-Ying, I think that one's for you.
So we provide bus services from a location to the venue. So last year, pickup was at the D Resort to the venue, which is CC. So this year we don't have a partner accommodation. We don't have a partnership with D Resort, but we're still providing shuttles from a certain pickup point and to transport participants to the CEC. So that's what the shuttle services are. They transport participants to and fro from the event venue to a convenient point.
Thanks, Zhi-Ying. And then we have a question from Pakistan, team EC and UST. They are running in the prototype battery electric category, Colin, and they ask, can we use 50 cells for our self-made battery?
Hi, we have no restrictions on the type of cells that is used for your batteries. As long as it complies with the rules, we have no issues with that. So that means you can use any configuration as long as it has a battery management system and that it has sufficient protection against any failures of the battery. And of course, it must comply with the voltage and current ranges that are applicable for battery electric. Okay, so no issues with that.
Thanks, Colin. And I can remind teams if you want confirmation for anything that's specific to your vehicle and your team, you can always send an email to ecomarathonasia@shell.com, and then Colin and Zhi-Ying can help you out. So the next question is from Team UITM EcoPlanet from Malaysia. They say, so when is the deadline for document submission if we choose road freight?
When is the deadline for document submission if we choose road freight?
Yeah, so does it, Solehan, we might need to ask you, are you planning on driving yourselves to Singapore from Malaysia, or are you planning on getting your vehicle shipped by road freight? And then we can get back to your question. So in the meantime, we'll skip to the next question, also from Team PNEC and UST from Pakistan. Are there any restrictions for first connecting cells in parallel or connecting the cells in series first? Colin, I think that one's for you.
There are no restrictions on whether you use series or parallel first, as long as it provides adequate protection. Okay, so that in the past we have actually said series first, then parallel. Now we are going to allow parallel first and then series, but it must meet certain criteria, such as the battery protection should be such that no current, the current in any cell should never exceed the allowable tolerance that that cell can take, if you know what I mean. So that is what is required. So to answer your question, no, there's no restriction, provided it meets all of the safety requirements of the batteries.
Next question from Team Infiyin Super Mileage from India. Is insurance for our vehicle compulsory? Please brief about it.
It's not compulsory, but it's advisable, as with a lot of insurance matters. If anything happens to the vehicle, you'll be covered if you get insurance, and if you don't, then if anything happens, it'll be a huge pity.
Yeah, so we won't be checking for this. It's not mandatory from our side, but yeah, to get insurance if you, just in case, as usual. Mm-hmm. Do we have any more questions? I don't see anything else in the chat box. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in. Maybe technical or logistics questions. And then in the meantime, Zhi-Ying, are there any, and Colin, maybe there's questions that you get often that we could maybe, while we wait for a new question?
I think I addressed all the things that were commonly asked in the presentation. Sorry, it was so long.
Okay.
We're not leaving, don't
9
worry.
minutes.
They're
9 minutes
saying wait
left.
stop.
I saw. We want to ask, regarding the self-built motor controller, do we need to build it from scratch, or can we use some other parts, like a motor driver, and then assemble it?
It is possible to actually use sub-components to build your motor controller, okay, but the motor controller as a whole has to be designed by you in terms of the software and the circuit boards, and you can use other components that are sub-components as it were. What you cannot use is like a kit motor controller where you just change some parameters and run. That's not allowed. So what you can do is only to put various components and build it okay, off the shelf. That's what we mean.
Thanks, Colin. Next question. Does the BMS need to have the battery temperature protection for the individual cells or for the whole battery pack?
The battery temperature protection is for the pack as a whole. Of course, if you have on individual cells, even better, but generally teams have temperature control for the battery as a whole. So they put a sensor of the battery or close to the surface of it.
Okay, thank you. Questions, guys?
Maybe I can take this time to address Solihan's question. Could you please
don't hesitate.
write into Ecomarathon Asia at shell.com.
Yeah, if you have any really technical questions that are specific to your vehicle, please avoid posting them on here and just send an email to us directly instead, and we'll be able to give you a more personalized response. We have another question for you, Colin. What type of tires are required in a car to make it match with 5,000 plus HP and go over 350 miles per hour? I don't think that's to Shell Ecomarathon.
Very fast.
Okay, we can't answer that because there is no specific tire specification. As long as you comply with all our rules, any type of tire is applicable. But note that urban concept wheels have certain requirements in the Shell Eco Marathon.
Yeah, if you have a look at the Chapter 1 rules concerning the tires for urban concept vehicles, then you'll see there's a certain width that we require and other elements that you need to follow in order to pass technical inspection. But those are all explained very clearly in the rules, so please do have another look at those if you have any doubts. If it's still unclear, then you can always email Zhi-Ying at the shell.com email address. We have another question. Is it necessary that brake calipers and discs are of the same manufacturer?
Okay, it is preferred that the brakes and calipers are from the same manufacturer. The reason for this is we want to make sure that they are actually suitable for each other. The worry with the brakes and calipers is that if you use the wrong type of caliper, it may not match your brake disc, and then it may not function effectively. So to be very sure, we would suggest that you make sure that it is from the same manufacturer and that they are actually suitable for each other. So you will need to verify with the manufacturer that this caliper is suitable for that caliper, because even within certain manufacturers, there are of course many different models of brakes and calipers. So we need you to actually verify this and bring the documentation to verify that that is the case. Otherwise, we may not accept your brake and caliper system.
Thanks, Colin. And I also believe that we've had an issue in the past where the brake discs were mounted the wrong way around. I don't know if you want to comment on that, but I believe it was an issue that we've had with a lot of teams.
Yes, that is correct, Sarah. One of the issues with brakes, especially the calipers, is that the direction of the rotor should be pointing in the direction of motion. I believe we have mentioned this in the previous Hangout, and there is a slide on that as well. If doubts, please ask us, and it is something we will definitely check in the technical inspection.
Thanks, Colin. I wanted to ask if anyone has any questions for Agility. Ghazali's here on the call just for you guys to answer your questions. So if you would like to ask him any questions about freight forwarding, about getting your vehicle safely to Singapore, now is the time. We have 3 minutes left. Okay, if no one has any questions, then I think we can. Here we go. We have one question for you, Ghazali. If we sent our vehicle using road freight with Agility, when is the deadline? We're from Malaysia. Ghazali, we can't hear you. I think you're muted.
No, we
Sorry,
can't
we
hear.
still can't hear you. Okay, let me try and unmute you and see if that works. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening, but we can't hear you, Ghazali, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, it's not where we can't hear you. So I think one answer for this is the best thing for you to do is to contact Agility directly at their email address. Can you remind me what that email address is, Zhi-Ying, please, so that they can contact Agility directly?
Yeah, SEMA students at agility.com.
EMA students@agility.com, and you can contact them for free. They'll be glad to help you, and they'll kind of be able to give you some advice on how best to ship your vehicle to Singapore from Malaysia. And you're right, it would probably be road freight, and then they'll be able to let you know more about deadlines and how long you can expect that to take. And it might be worth also contacting other Malaysian teams who might want to share the cost of transport with you. That's usually quite a good way to reduce for you guys. And actually on that subject, we have another question from the Pakistani team saying, regarding logistics, please clear regarding the combined shipment of 6 teams. Considered FCL or LCL in Singapore? I'm not sure what the answer to that is. Zhi-Ying, do you have an idea?
He's typing FCL.
Ghazali says it's FCL.
Yeah, that's full container load.
So it would be considered FCL, but it's definitely a good idea to combine shipment. So if you guys can do that, that would be great. It's a good way to reduce costs for us when we receive the crates on site as well. Okay, it is now up. We might have time for one last question quickly, if there is any one left who needs some help. Otherwise, we'll stop for today. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining. To you. You can rewatch this video as many times as you want, as it will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So if there's anything you've missed, or if there's anything that you didn't quite understand, you can go back through the video, watch Zhi-Ying's presentation again, listen to the Q&A again. And again, if you have any questions specific to your team, you can send an email to eco-marathon-asia@shell.com, or you can post your question on our Facebook group.
In the question thread.
Please clear. I don't see any more questions. Seeing. What question were you referring to?
No, I said, no. I was saying that if you ask questions in the Facebook group, please put down the questions thread. That's
Yes. Okay. Does anyone have anything else to add? Colin, Zhi-Ying?
no. Good luck and see you at the event.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to remind everybody to pay close attention to Zhi-Ying's presentation. It is really, really important to make sure that your vehicles get there on time and safely. So please make sure that you check every single thing that she has talked about. All right, that's really important. And watch out for the next call where we will talk about the technical inspection. Thanks.
Thanks, Colin. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for today. So just the usual reminders, make sure that you read Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 rules very carefully. You'll find very useful information in there, as well as on our Shell Eco Marathon Asia for Participants page. That's one page where you'll find all of the information that you need, hopefully. And we'll be updating the track map soon. You can start working on your race strategy, or rather on your competition strategy on track. Always contact us on ecomarathonasia@shell.com, and we'll be happy to help. So thank you everyone so much for joining, and I wish you all a very nice evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.